Is that you, Magical Musket? I don't know what happened here. We also have Blackwings and some other interesting ideas floating out there as well. Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. We are going to be looking at none other than Magical Musketeers, focusing on playing Link into the Vrains. Just let you special summon a monster from your hand, negate its effects, and immediately go ahead and link summon with it using a monster you control, or monsters you control, including that monster. And the link summon cannot be negated. Your opponent can activate cards or effects when a link monster is link summoned this way. So your primary objective is you just want to make sure that your musket can touch down in an unresponded way. To be perfectly honest with you, I mean, Musket's greatest weakness is being negated effectively. So I think that's definitely something interesting. This was a very interesting Link one that they designed, but it never really took off, per se. So we have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. We have triple copies of Effect Failure. We have one copy of Calamity. Triple copies of Caspar with two copies of Doc. We have triple copies of Kid Brave. Triple copies of Starfire. We have one Call by the Grave. One copy of Double or Nothing. One copy of Harpy's Feather Duster. Triple copies of Link into the Vrains. Triple copies of Cross Domination. Two copies of Pod Desires. One Upstart Goblin. Triple copies of Infinite Permanence. One Dancing Needles. Triple copies of Desperado. And triple copies of The Last Stand. Down here in the next deck, we got the one Underworld Goddess. Triple copies of Magical Musketeer Max. We got one Lena with one Unicorn. One copy of Nightmare Phoenix. One IP. We have one Access Code. One Tornado Dragon. One Utopia Double with one Utopia. One Zeus. One Mud, and one Garuda. Then we have triple copies of good old Space Rock. Triple copies of Cosmic Cyclone. Triple copies of Hadoken. Two copies of Super Polymerization, triple Dimensional Barrier, and then we have one Dancing Needle here, wrapping up your main deck for Magical Musketeer. And like I said, this is very interesting. How consistent that this deck will be kind of going forward, I think will leave a little bit to be desired, but it's still the little things to consider. Next up is Blackwings. Now, Blackwings have kind of gone silent for a little while. They were doing relatively well at the beginning of the set for them, and it was just that they went quiet. This is kind of nice to revisit this and see that Blackwings can function a little bit out here, but I think kind of going forward in the environment that this deck is going to struggle, and it's not that it's a bad struggle, but it's something. So we have two copies of Kunai the Drizzle, two copies of the Snowblast. We have two copies of one Gale. We have one Harmattan the Dust, two copies of Shamal, triple copies of Simone. We have triple copies of the Sudri, triple copies of Vada. We have one copy of Zephyros the Elite. We have one copy of Zonda the Dusk, and then we have one Destrudo. Then we have one Black Feather Whirlwind, triple copies of Black Whirlwind. One Call by the Grave with one Cosmic Cyclone, triple copies of Forbidden Droplet, two copies of Pot of Prosperity with triple copies of Small World. We got triple copies of the Talents. Then we got two Twin Shadow and triple copies of Infinite Permanence. Down in the extra deck, you got the one Wystrix, one Unicorn with one IP. We have one Wolo, one Obsidian Hawk, one Former Master, one Silverwind the Ascendant, one Nathung with one copy of the Boros Storm, two copies of the Blackwing Dragon with triple copies of the Blackwinged Assault Dragon, and then we got one good old Raikiri the Rain Shower. Then we got triple copies of Lancia, triple copies of Drawn Lockbird, two Cosmic Cyclone, triple Dark Rule No More with one Harvey's Feather Duster, and you got triple copies of Evenly Matched here, wrapping up your Blackwing experience. And once again, different perspectives for the deck definitely give you different ideas and ways to want to approach this for sure. And I think that's actually kind of nice. Next up here was a top 8 list that I missed a little while back. And the only reason why I'm going back to mention this is because this is for hire. Yeah, we're using the for hire package with our Sprite deck. Now, the main reason why this works is because, Rex ended up being a level 2, and then you have, Dampa also acting as a level 2. Same thing. This deck has so many level 2s that you can do relatively dumb things with that it's quite impressive at the end of the day. So I do think, kind of going forward here, that this is by far one of the worst variations of this build that you can actually mess around with. But if you want to play for hire, all right, and you want to have a blast, this would be the deck to do so. So we have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, triple copies of Beat the Bladesman for Hire, we have triple copies of Donpa, we have 1 copy of Philo, 1 copy of Raphael, we have triple copies of Recon, triple copies of Rex, we got triple copies of Sprite Blue with 1 Sprite Carrot, we have triple Sprite Jet, we have 1 Pixies, and then we have 1 Red. Then we have 1 Called by the Grave, 2 Cosmic Cyclone with 2 copies of Mayhem. We have 2 copies of Rookie for Hire. Just let your Tribune special summon for Hire from your deck or hand whose 1 level is higher or lower. That's cool. We have 1 Smashers, triple Sprite Starter, and then triple copies of Infinite Permanence here. Then in the next deck we have the 1 copy of Underworld Goddess, 1 for Jet, 2 copies of Sprite Elf, 1 Abermax, 1 Nightmare Unicorn with 1 IP, 1 Fogo with 1 copy of Donner. Then we have 1 Apo with 1 Access Code, 1 Sky Cavalry, 2 Gigantic Sprites, and 1 copy of Zeus. And then we have triple Lancia, 1 Nightmare Corruptor Ibly, 1 Sagita, 1 copy of Wiz. Then we have 1 Change of Heart, 1 Cosmic Cyclone with 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, triple Dimensional Barrier, and triple copies of Unending Nightmare here, wrapping up your Sprite for Hire experience. Next up is Unchained. Oh my gosh, man. So this is... Technically, this deck gets way better with the Macrocosm and Di-Fi expansions because these don't give 2 craps about touching the grave. It's just, oh, you destroyed me? I think kind of going forward here, you might actually see this deck be a little bit more of an anti-meta monster in the game, just strictly because it doesn't care about what's going on around it. And I think that's going to give this deck a little bit more of a particular edge than some people might be really expecting out here. So we have triple copies of Abominable, the Unchained Soul. We have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, triple copies of the Crow Machine. We have 2 copies of Radion, with 1 copy of the Unchained Soul of Disaster, triple copies of Ruha, triple copies of Rakia, and then we got triple copies of Sarama, triple copies of Abomination's Prison. Then we got the 1 Called by the Grave, your triple copies of Pot of Extravagance, triple copies of the Abominable Chamber of the Unchained, triple copies of Escape of the Unchained, and then we have triple copies of Infinite Permanence, along with triple copies of Torrential Tribute. Don't knock this card. This card's really good. Then we have triple copies of the Unchained Soul of Rage. Who doesn't love the fact that you get to use your opponent's Link monsters as material? We have triple copies of the Unchained Soul of Anguish, 2 copies of the Link 4, and then we have 1 Zeroboros, 2 News Reporter, triple copies of Unicorn, and 1 Dingrisu Machine. Then we have triple Cosmic Cyclone, triple copies of Hadoken, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, triple Dimensional Bear, triple Evenly Matched, and 2 copies of the Gravedigger's Trap Hole here, wrapping up your Unchained experience. And I do look forward to seeing how this deck will evolve in the near future, if this actually gets any level of innovation, or if it just kind of falls to the wayside and gets put in the trash pile. We'll have to wait and see. Next up is more goatee. Maybe more Macrocosmo in the future. Interesting enough, though, evenly matched in this build, kind of giving us the chance to try to withstand the test of time here and actually set up and be a heavy meta contender for sure. So we have triple copies of the Abyss Shark. This card's just moved straight on in and has been a mainstay now. We have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. We have triple copies of the Beautiful Princess. We have triple copies of Durosworm, triple copies of Dimension Shifter, triple copies of Yield Lifeless Leaffish. We have triple copies of the Light of the Goatee. We have 1 Fairy of the Goatee with 1 Silent Angler, 1 copy of the Shade of the Goatee. Then we have 1 Supe, triple copies of the Supe Duskwalker, 1 Ruby. Then we have 1 Dimensional Fissure, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, triple Talents, triple copies of Evenly Matched, and triple copies of Infinite Permanence. Down here, actually, I got the 1 Zelantis, 1 Coral Anemone, 1 Kraken Spawn with 1 Stealth Kraken, 1 White Aura Whale with the 1 Scarlight, 1 Goatee, 2 Goatee of the Deep, 1 Baron, and we have 2 copies of the Bicorn, 2 copies of the Serpent, 1 Dragite with 1 Kit Gallos, and then we have triple copies of Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill, triple copies of Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries, triple copies of Ghost Sister and the Spooky Dogwood, and we got triple copies of Lightning Storm, and triple copies of Different Dimension Ground here, wrapping up another interesting round of deck profiles and things that players are messing around with. So what do you guys think about these lists? Please leave a comment down below. And of course, if you guys have had any success with any cool decks, please feel free to reach out to me on social media. I'll see your beautiful faces back here later today, guys. Peace out. Patrons. ya!
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.